Hello and welcome to this video on ash as a species for bonsai. You will often find ash styled as an informal upright, cascade, single or multi-trunk. This is because it is very rough in the way it grows. This rough nature comes with other complications, but largely in order to balance it, they need to be grown as larger specimens. This means you're unlikely to find your ash growing as a mame or other similarly small end of the spectrum specimen. Rather, they're going to be much larger, much more bold and pronounced. Ash are known by the proper name of fraxineus. This is a large genus of trees and covers many flowering species. You'll find that they often occupy parts of the olive and lilac family. While the flowers themselves will vary by species, the leaves less so. They normally occur in a pair where they are opposite each other on their branch. Ash has what could be called a quirk. The quirk being that with age, they may change their sexual function. That is, they go from being male or hermaphroditic to become female. This also means that the older, more large and bold specimens are likely to be female and put off seed. The European ash, as opposed to others, is particularly well suited to this. A. It has a very large growth, and B. It has drastic colour changes throughout the year. It goes from bright vibrant green in spring to summer colours and then autumnal colours. This variation throughout the year is one reason why it is often used in town planning. Further to that, it often survives in coastal and low mountain ranges. This means that it can be very resilient to even poor quality soil. The trees may grow up to 40 meters in the wilderness. They also have a large amount of growth around their crown, but compared to that, the trunk is very short. Some species have different colored leaves, although the most common tend to be purple. They stay on the tree throughout the entirety of autumn, and may even show up in spring of the next year. If you're looking to plant out an ash as a bonsai, one thing you need to be very careful to do is try and add a little more calcium. This will help to alter the pH and make it more palatable to the tree, where it prefers slightly more alkaline soil. Any good quality soil mix will do, but if you can modify it, that's a good option to start with. Given how large and lush the leaves are, you're going to find that it needs a lot of water. To accompany this growth and watering, you should try and fertilize the tree every 2 weeks, rotating between a tonic and a fertilizer. When you're looking at the tree, you'll note that the leaves are quite large, and there are seed pods attached to it. This is something you need to be aware of when you're pruning it. Leaf reduction will be difficult but is possible. Trying to avoid a lot of nitrogen in your fertilizer will help with that. If you're going to try and defoliate it in part, you should try not to do so during the summer seasons. Either do it at the start of spring or the end of autumn. Cut the plant back hard. If you're looking to try and keep an established and already quite compact and well ramified tree with small branches and leaves intact, then you may need to consider aggressive pruning throughout the growing season. But this is going to be the two extremes of what you're after. Either extremely hard pruning right throughout the growing season, into summer and possibly autumn, or alternatively, very light pruning in the middle, but more aggressive pruning at the start of the growing season and at the end. You're going to have at least 1 leader, and this should not be touched until late winter, where the tree will have some opportunity to recover. Knowing that the ash family as a whole flowers, you want to look at cutting off any of the buds attached to the flowering parts after they've wilted. This will ensure that you get a nice display next year. If you're looking to try and use it sometime after that in an exhibition, you might want to consider removing any early floral buds by denuding the tree of any flowers for 1 year you're likely to get a better display than next year. Wiring should be done in spring and left until autumn. This will help to set the branches in place, but you need to be mindful of the wire not digging into the branches as it grows. Some parts of the tree will grow more aggressively, and this is a big concern. In order to get the best growth, and ultimately leading to that concern about wire cutting into it, you should have the tree in full sun. If you are in a particularly harsh summer environment, consider having it in partial shade throughout the hottest part of the day. The only considerations insofar as positioning goes beyond extreme heat is that it's possible that early spring growth can be damaged by frost. Keeping the tree somewhat protected, particularly in early spring, will help with that considerably. Repotting the trees themselves will need to be done every 2 to 5 years. In the early years, you're likely to need to repot it every 2 years, proceeding to get gradually longer between repotting. In the world, there are different diseases and pests which affect the ash family differently. When we're looking at North America and into Eastern Asia, there is the emerald ash borer. This was introduced to most of these areas due to packing material in the 1980s and 1990s. The only way to deal with this is a systemic treatment, and even then you may not be able to remove it. The other pest of concern is relevant to Europe and is known as the Hymenoscyphus fraxineus. This is a fungus and can cause significant dieback and has been eating its way, for lack of a better phrase, throughout Europe since the mid-1990s. It's most predominant in Eastern and Northern Europe, but once your trees are infected, smaller specimens can be dealt with a systemic solution. If it's a larger specimen, you may see considerable damage. The tree may be salvageable, but there will be a lot of problems from this. As a bonsai specimen, ash can be very good and is forgiving of extremely rough treatment in many ways. Although not ideally suited to all enthusiasts, it is a good species for those with some experience. If you're looking to create a more impactful and bold tree, ash is a good place to look. If you're looking for something with subtlety and nuance, this may not be the species for you. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions down below.